Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Quantum Bridge. It's really great today. You got myself, Gary, and we've got Casper with us, of course. And I think this might be not the first time, but it's the second time we have a returning and a new guest at the same time. So I'm going to pass over to you, Cappers, to introduce them for us today, please.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Gary, nice to see you. Haven't spoken to you for a while, so
That's right. Yeah. Busy working, aren't we? Yeah. Other stuff.
Yeah, people obviously think that we live together. We don't. Just to be clear, we don't live together.
The other side of the screen actually does, but we'll get onto that. Yeah.
So. yeah, exactly. Yeah, well done. Yeah, really, really pleased to have both a returning guest and a new guest, as you rightfully say, both together. So before I go on and blabber on anymore, really nice to meet you, Mary, and obviously to see you again, Tony.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Thank you for having me.
Really pleased to have you both with us. So for those of us that have seen our other conversation with Tony, we delved into some very interesting topics, but not least in terms of the Melted broadcast and the work that Tony's doing, bringing, very interesting people out into the world in a very non-judgmental way, from varied backgrounds, but definitely what I suppose would be considered sort of fringe. And in many ways, we're very fringe too, as anybody knows that watches us. Not always so fringe, but often. And also, I have to say thank you to Tony for helping us to have skits on the show as well.
Oh,
which was that was a great chat, and thank you guys.
We really appreciate
it. Yeah, really, really good guy. So, look, we're open to obviously speaking about anything as always. And I know that we had certain things that we thought we might cover, but actually, since you're both here and since things do move on, which is fantastic, right? What you might want to just both say hello a bit, and obviously we haven't met Mary properly before either, and then have a think about what you'd like to discuss. But just happy to have you both here, and feel free to say anything you both like.
All right. Well, again, thanks for having me back. It's great to be here. So cool talking with you guys. And this is Mary. Mary, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Mary, and I am co-host of the Melted broadcast, but I also do have my own show. First time experiencer, so I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Pleasure. Yeah.
And that's it's just called the Mary Blige Show, is that right?
The Unhinged, a Mary Blige show.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll put all that stuff at the end in the description anyway. So, I guess
Unhinged is right up my street, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's your kind of stuff. Yeah. So I guess I've seen you posting a lot about whatever you want to call it. I guess UFO activities, or what do they call them these days? Yeah. Maybe you want to go a little bit into that. Tell us the stuff you've been experiencing around your place. That's really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So it started, I believe it was October 4th or the 3rd.
July 4th.
July 4th. I was gonna smoke a brisket, so I go outside, I get everything set up. It's like 3 a.m. I go to the side of the house and I look up and I see 7 orbs. They're lined up 1, 2, 3. Well, at first they were kind of like spread apart, but they're going sideways, up and down, and then they went lined up in an angle, and then eventually went straight down. So at that time, I'm like, oh damn, it's my first sighting. I pull out my phone. We have a really good footage of all this stuff as well. I run inside. I wake up Mary. I'm like, babe, get out here, get out here. It's UFO sighting, UFO sighting. She's like stumbling all over the place. I think she like kicks over a fan. She runs outside, and by the time we get there, it's only 3 in a triangle, and then 2 shoot out across the neighborhood, and then 1 stays right there in the center, just pulsating. And we must have recorded it for like 3 hours.
Wow.
And Yeah,
Right.
that's when it first started.
Yeah, I did. I remember going out there, and by the time that I went out there, I didn't see all seven. I did see two of them, shoot out, and then the one that stayed in the center. And so when I saw that, I was speechless. I didn't know what to think, what to say. Um, I was trying to speak to Tony, and I remember thinking, okay, I can't talk. There's something happening. Ended up feeling sick, you know, like right after that. It was almost like it was too much energy, if that makes sense. So I was very nauseous with a headache afterwards. And I finally, after like 10 minutes or so, I was able to form the words to say, go get my phone. And so I stayed recording it for like 2 hours, and I was doing the whole thing, process of elimination, okay, this has got to be a star. I don't know. This is something else. And the more that it was more days that passed by, I see it again. There's something else, it's coming back. It's coming back. And until now, it's just consistent. It's just all the time now. The only difference now is that there's helicopters involved. We've had helicopters flying over our home. We've had them shining the light in our yard. So it's
Yeah.
kind of getting a little bit chaotic when it comes to that now, just because of all the, why are there helicopters every time we see? And now it's not even in that one spot. Now it's coming in different areas. Now it's coming in the front. Uh,
Yeah.
so it's getting
Yeah.
very intense. Yeah.
Was this originally, or is it always at night time, or is this also in the day?
So
There,
we've had some during the day, but mainly it's at nighttime, and that's whenever, like she was going back to process of elimination, you know, I've had people say, "Oh, it's Starlink." We went and checked, where Starlink was at, eliminated eliminated that. I think my brother was like, "Oh, it's probably drones." Definitely not drones. We actually had a drone in our backyard like a week ago, and
right.
um
It
and they
was right
were they're
after.
yeah, they're peeking over our house, and I ended up getting my drone and sending it up there to try to counter it, and real quick took off, didn't come back. It was
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of crazy.
And
Was
the,
there
the
anything that happened before this, before that first day, that made you think now, once that happened and now it's been going on, that there was something going on previous to that, or does it really seem like that was the very first sort of instance?
Well, I've had sightings before, but nothing to where I caught it on video to
Mm.
show someone else and tell them like, look, I did see something. Because I've seen multiple sightings, and it's always like little orbs or something shooting across the sky. But at that point, it's just word of mouth. People could think I'm crazy or they don't believe
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
That's why we started getting really big into getting equipment. To start recording this night vision goggles, Celestron telescopes. Our batteries keep draining with this night vision. Like 20 minutes after I turned it on. So I just bought a big block of rechargeable batteries. Like we're spending some money on trying to get this evidence to show people, like, hey, this stuff is really happening.
Right. Yeah, we also have the camera that attaches to the Celestron telescope. So, we go out there and I'm thinking if anything, I get to see some amazing stars and the beautiful moon. And we took it out there and we did capture some stuff. And I kept telling Tony, is that a bird? I know that sounds silly, but again, we're humans, so we try to justify,
yeah,
okay, it's
yeah,
probably
yeah, of
some,
course.
and then when we had the big sighting and all this video footage that we have, we actually did it on our Supernatural Spotlight show. So it's on our YouTubes. But
Okay.
when we had the big sighting with all the helicopters, uh, s- our stuff started malfunctioning. I don't understand how a Celestron telescope that doesn't plug into anything or work off of Wi-Fi, just all of a sudden you can't see anymore. My phone was like shut off. It wouldn't do anything. What little footage we were able to capture, um, when we through the telescope, the screens start doing these weird thing. All the little green lines, red lines, like trying to block everything out. It was just a very stressful event that evening because there were several helicopters flying around in circles from every direction. And that was two. That was two sightings that same night. So there was two actual what we call orbs because we don't know what else to to say
Yeah.
other than UAPs maybe. But
Mm.
it was really crazy.
I'll tell you what's interesting with that, Mary, that I saw recently online. They had like what they was calling orbs, and they were over the UK somewhere. A similar type of sighting that you've seen yourself. Um, I mean, with me, I'm always skeptical. You know, when you just see a little video online, you're like, well, it could be anything, right? So, but I think it's more interesting.
Mhm.
You have to sort of maybe experience these things for yourself, because, like you say, when you was there, you feel the energy that there's something else more than just drones or something. I mean, we hear a lot that sometimes if we do see things, they may be like military aircraft, I think, that we're unaware of. So there's all that sort of stuff as well that creeps in. But I did find it interesting that you actually felt something. I mean, did you as well, Tony? Or was that just you didn't pick up on something?
Not so much. Just I mean, a lot of people whenever they see these objects, they get confused and they start thinking like, what is this? And it affects them. And like I had told Mary before, I think for me, I'm more comfortable with it because ever since I was a little kid, I've always had things happen to me, supernatural things, objects in the sky, like now we got evidence of it, but it's always been something that I kind of, in my mind, in my personal view, I already knew was there and is there and believed 100% in it. So, I mean, to me, it hasn't been anything crazy to where I feel like threatened, but I don't know, I feel comfortable with it.
Mm.
Yeah, there's a few instances where I've had, because a lot of times, we're not experiencing it together unless I call him out there or he calls me out there. Um, Prior to, seeing these things, I've been curious and doing a background in my DNA and, what my ancestors believed in and stuff. And then that's when everything started happening. But I, every time I do see these, I have now paid attention. Am I going to feel sick today? And I will have a headache. I will feel just not 100. And I always tell Tony, I don't feel good today. I don't know what it is. Just like my body's not feeling right. I've had this headache for days after that big sighting. I stayed with 3 days with a headache. I've talked to other people and I've mentioned my story that I had a bad ear infection from April to August. Nothing was taking care of it. And they were curious and said, well, what side? And I said, well, it's my left side. And they said, interesting, because I've had this happen. And these are lifetime experiencers that are mentioning their left ear as well. So I don't know if there's a connection there, but I do feel sick afterwards. It's like it's just too much energy, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'll take video footage from my cell phone. So I guard this cell phone with my life, and I'll zoom in and I'll, slow it, frame by frame to see what I see. And there's been a lot of grays that I've captured images of grays in there. I have all of that we show on our, as proof. And it's not really to throw it in anyone's face, but it's really more to help the new people that are experiencing to feel like, no, they're not crazy. Because I've seen this, and if they say, oh, I've seen this, but nobody believes them. Yeah, it's more for the new people coming into the community to give them that, that validation of it. But
Yeah, for sure.
mhm.
Just in terms of that, of seeing sort of different beings and whatever, when you say that, how do you mean? How are they? Do you mean that you're seeing them out, sort of in the physical realm, sort of wandering about somewhere, or are you seeing them within a craft? Or I just didn't quite understand. I think that's a lovely thing, by the way, that you're doing, but I just didn't quite understand how you meant.
Well, then the orb
Oh, right,
itself.
okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
so she's doing screenshots of the
Mhm.
orb from the video, and she's seeing these alien gray shapes, the eyes, the small
Yeah,
mouth, the elongated skull. And then
Mhm.
even last night we had a pretty good sighting in the front yard, and the videos she took. So I started noticing all these videos whenever we take pictures and get stills of the orb, it looks like a craft, and you could always see windows in the front, like
Mhm.
stretching across the front of the craft. And last night, for the first time, we actually got where it's like a long window, a slit, a long window, and you can see like a small little person in front of each window, like right in the middle, like clear as
Wow.
day. We haven't released that footage yet. I think we're gonna do that. When do we talk about that? Like
Probably next
yeah,
weekend, I think.
next week maybe.
Mhm.
Because
Okay,
last
so
night
by
we
the time this goes out, you probably will have done that. Great. And when you say that, when you say you've got these two figures, are they what people traditionally would see again as being greys, i.e., those large dark eyes and the small face and so on, or are they different types of beings?
well for the one last night, it is not like super close where you
Yeah,
could actually see the body, but you could clearly see the windows and the separation in the window and the two beings or two bodies like right in the middle. Like if they're controlling the craft.
yeah. I was just going to say, do they look like they're controlling a crowd? Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing.
I have to say that's not something that I've always seen like all my life. It's not something that I talked about all my life.
Yeah, yeah,
It was, I mean, as far as astral projection, I've had that. Yes, I've been able
yeah.
to do that since a child. But so I know that if I believe in certain things, why wouldn't I believe in this, right? I just never experienced it
Yeah,
until recently. So, but yeah, Tony always talked about it when we first got together, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to hear about this crazy stuff." Like, Gaia TV, like always ancient aliens, and I'm like, "Oh." Now, I've always felt that we cannot possibly be the only ones here. I just never seen anything different than us, right?
right.
And I've never
yeah,
experienced it
Yeah, of
until
course.
recently. So,
Do you
yep.
feel for any reason, I'm going to come on to whether or not other people have been sort of seeing and engaging with these locally to you, but I do like this idea of do you feel there's any reason why now? I mean, it's an interesting date for you guys to start seeing them anyway, but has there been any sort of, even sort of dream communication or telepathy or anything else sort of around that, our sixth and other senses, that made you think that there was something else happening, some type of communication
Yeah.
around this time, or has it purely been you've just happened to see these different things?
I've
Well,
definitely had some dreams,
yeah,
and Tony has had some experiences too. Yeah.
yeah. I think after the first real sighting that we captured, I had we're laying in bed, we're asleep, and we have a sliding door in our room,
Mm.
and I heard it open, and I tried to wake up, but it, it felt like I was like medicated or something. Like I would try to get up, and I couldn't really just get up all the way. I couldn't keep my eyes open, but then I saw like what are they, the insect beings? What are they? The
Like a mantis or a mantid
yeah,
or
like a
something like that?
mantis being kind of like the figure of it coming into the room, and then it was walking towards the side of the bed, just kind of like the whisper lady. And then I closed my eyes again and I opened it, and I saw the little faces of like the gray aliens instead of the mantis. And that's when I really started trying to get up, and I couldn't. Again, it felt like I was medicated. I felt heavy and pushed into the bed, and then finally I wake up, and my dog, she's over my face, like she's standing over me, this close to my face, and I'm like, like what the hell? And with that also, with another sighting, same thing with the window and my dog. There's a separation in the blinds for our restroom. You can see in the mirror outside, and I saw a super tall figure, all black. And I wake up, and my pit bull, she's just sitting there, at the door, just looking up. Usually she'll be barking, going crazy, but
Yeah.
she just sitting there looking up, and I see the object, and then it walks away, and then I'm like, Crystal, my dog comes and jumps up to me, just like nothing.
Mhm.
So that kind of freaked me out. And then I know Mary had some stuff too that she had happening. Or hers, I think, were a little bit more intense.
Yeah. Well, again, going back to the ear infection thing that I had earlier this year, um, but I have the one night when we had you know, the big sighting, and when I didn't feel good and my head started hurting, I went to sleep and I can pretty much remember every detail of I have total recall on this dream. So I was outside of my body in my dream and I could see that there were three, and I don't know if I couldn't tell you if they were humans or something else, and they were wearing doctor's coats. And there's a chair that they had me sitting on, leaning back, and I could see that they were inserting a capsule-like object in my ear, and I could feel panicked at this point. The tables were there. There was, this whole clean looking thing in the background of the facility or whatever room I was in. And I started panicking in this dream and realized, oh, hold on, I don't like this feeling. I need to wake up. And as I was waking up from this dream, um, I don't know what it was, but it felt like they were holding me down, first of all, but not aggressively, more firmly. And when I did try to go ahead and sit up from that bed, something heavy just pushed me back into it and then kept me held down. And then it was as if I was already like drugged, and I was just couldn't wait, like get my body completely up. And they did insert something into my ear. Now, what that was, I don't know. Were they trying to heal me? Because I've heard stories of that before, or was it something else that they were just trying to download? So, you know, I s- I think about that and I just don't know what to make of that. Yeah, I've had other intense uh things, happening. I've been locked out of the house when nobody's here and I'll go out, to my back, uh the sliding door will shut and lock. Um the camera kept going off. We have cameras all around the house, so the camera kept going off. We were sitting in the living room one day, and our TV behind in our living room, we have the sliding doors, and you can see the shadows during the day, right? So we were watching TV, and we see something running across.
I
The
saw feet. Yeah, I
camera's
saw
going
feet.
off. Yeah, the camera's going off. But when I look at all the camera, we can't find nothing. There's nothing. So we've had some of that stuff happening here too ever since. Um, but yeah, I now keep track and keep a book that I write everything in, um, documenting my dreams. I know what it's like to be out of body because I've astral project and been able to do that since a child. So that's what I did when I saw what they were doing to me. Again, I can't tell you why because I still don't know why myself.
And does it feel malevolent? I mean, generally, these interactions, have they been accompanied with feelings of evil and fear and whatever, or have they not necessarily had that aspect?
The um the dream that I had kind of felt like that, but it was more of I think it was more me being in shock. And then the whole thing with the whisper lady too, I
Yeah,
started thinking, maybe that dream wasn't, the whisper lady coming, whispering in my ear, telling me stuff. What if what if they were kind of disguising themselves for me to see a person instead of an actual entity? And I mean from what she was telling me in the ear, I mean, I don't even remember what it was like a language that I've never heard.
Yeah. Um, for me, I feel more like it was just me panicked in that one particular
yeah.
dream because I didn't understand what they were doing and why they were inserting something into, my ear. Um, so it was more me being panicked about that.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a strange one. And has it been accompanied with any tinnitus, so any ringing in the ears or any of those sort of
Uh,
things, or has it just been uh, like an infection?
no, I do have the ringing in my ears constant all the time. I mean, I told Tony the other day my ear is ringing again. It just won't stop. And now that's really, yeah, that's really rough
Yeah,
to
it's
hear that
tough,
all the
that
time.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that for well, probably since the early 2000s, and
Oh
it never
wow.
ever stops.
Right.
So it's not, and it's particularly bad at night, obviously, because it's quieter at night, but it's generally bad, and it is specifically or worse in my left ear. But yeah, I empathize and sympathize with you about that.
Yeah, I didn't have that before until after that I got that ear infection, and I've never had that before. So that was the first time. Last year I ended up having Bell's palsy, and so they did a CAT scan and CT, and the doctor there kept saying the reason why they ordered it was because they kept seeing something in the ear and they didn't
Right.
know what was, but then everything showed normal. So now I'm thinking maybe I do need to go get that CT or MRI done. But yeah, it's
Yeah, interesting. Gary, have you got, because I know that you sort of pick up energetically on a lot of these things. Have you been picking up anything?
It just reminds me of some of the crazy stuff that's
I thought it might.
happened to me. Yeah, which is, but we'll go into that another time because the time, as usual, is, yeah, and there's some weird stories, but you never know because when I hear lots of stuff, you hear about implants and all sorts, and I wonder with some of that stuff. I had some. It didn't feel horrible, but I had something sort of come to my head once and put his finger there, and so my head was all buzzing. It's similar to
I've had
I've seen
that.
this film Communion, where that happens to him in that they come up and go like this on his head. So I did have that thing, but that's that's for another time, I think. Well, I wondered on closing, maybe how has this been received on your channel? I mean, have you just is both your channels, are they sort of the regulars? How is it? Was it bleeding out into sort of newbies and things? Is it still just a whole group of believers as it is?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're just trying to reach out to anybody and everybody, to trying to get the people who are scared to come out and talk about this stuff to come out, and so they can see that there's platforms like us that it's safe to talk about these things, but we are trying to get more into the cryptid creatures and stuff like that. So I actually have somebody coming on hopefully tomorrow to talk about that stuff because I want to bring that subject out. I've always been kind of standoffish about Bigfoot. I don't know why. There's something about him, but here recently I've been hearing a lot of things and about these cryptid animals, and I want to see there's a tie between what we're seeing UFOs and what these creatures are.
Yeah, it does feel like there could be some form of interdimensional aspect to all of these, rather than just they're in our same frequency all the time. But yeah, I think that's a great area to see if there's an overlap in. I think you're doing really powerful work, both of you, but not least one because of doing this recording work and actually trying to catalog things and helping people be willing to come forward and sort of start to talk about their own things and just generally giving people platform and not being judgmental. I think you do a great job on that. So yeah, we'll re-engage more with your stuff again and start to comment and like and whatever. But I just encourage anybody to watch any of your material because it always comes from a really good place and that non-judgmental aspect. I think we need more of that. I hope we do that as well, but I know you guys do. So yeah, thank you both, and do consider coming back on because it feels like this really flew by even more than usual.
Yeah, no, anytime, and again, we have a lot of stuff coming up here in the future. We're gonna be doing some a lot of radio stuff here soon. The beginning of November, I think we're gonna try to do a live shoot because we have a presentation that we got to do for Houston MUFON. We're gonna try to do that live with them doing the Q&A,
Wow.
to us.
Right.
So I mean, we don't have it all set out how we're gonna do it yet. We still have to figure it out, but that is something that we're gonna try to do for so everybody could see how MUFON does their investigations or whatever with the people that are seeing this phenomena.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, brilliant. Look, thank you again, and thank you again for skits. And just to say, as Gary touched on, that we'll, any information, obviously, that you ever want us to put in our sort of show more section and whatever, if you just send it to us, we'll always do our best to promote you, and we'd love to welcome you back to have a expanded conversation, maybe after this next wave of stuff you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys having us.
Yeah,
Thank you,
so
Mary,
much.
by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that
Really
real?
nice to see you both.
You've actually got the red door behind you there as well, haven't you? Your logo or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
painted that.
Yeah, she actually painted that.
I
Oh,
I
right,
paint everything. Yeah, I do paint. I do dabble in.
Wow.
Yeah,
paint.
the painting behind me, the light bulb with the beam,
Yeah.
the light beam.
Yeah.
She did that too.
Yeah, they're great. Are they becoming t-shirts and other merch?
We're working on that. I do have the
Yeah.
equipment now, so yeah, that's
Okay,
gonna
I'm
be
sorry,
coming
I don't want
soon.
to steal your thunder. When you're ready to talk about that, do, because I think they'd make great merchandise. Yeah.
Yeah,
Appreciate
brilliant.
that.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right.
fantastic.
All right. Until next
All right,
time,
guys.
guys,
Thanks, guys.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Take
have a
care.
great
Bye.
one.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.